Hey there, Dr. J here from the BioSoul Integration Center in Louisville, Colorado. And a few days ago, I had the pleasure of being interviewed by Allison Rothman. She's a body-centered, holistic wellness coach in Boulder, Colorado. And she and I had an awesome conversation. We talked about what the work I do, BioSoul Integration, what it is, how it works. We talked about what I think that the background, what's going on in the background behind the COVID thing. We talked about how it is that pain can be becomes transformational for people, and a lot of other cool things. So we're going to be listening to that in a little bit, that interview. But if you like this video, please share it with people who might be interested. Hit that like button. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and do the social thing wherever you see this, whether you see it on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever. These videos show up in podcast form too, so you can find it wherever you listen to your podcasts. And again, I've written a book called If It Didn't Hurt: How to Resolve Your Pain and Discover Your Life Purpose. You can find that on my website at biosoulintegration.com, and you can get the first chapter for free there if you want. So let's get into the interview. I look forward to it.
So a tremendous welcome to you, Jay. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thanks, Allison. Thanks for having me. Such an honor.
So great.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So I would love to just dive into you and your background and, your journey of life that has led you to writing your book and creating BioSoul Integration. Anything you want to share around that?
Sure. And feel free to butt in anytime if there's something interesting someplace you want to go. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably as it is with a lot of healers, I mean, I feel like it started a long time ago. But when I was a kid, I lived on a farm in Nebraska, and I crashed one of those ATVs on myself.
Oh,
God. And I'm really lucky I walked away, actually, but I started to experience all sorts of strange musculoskeletal issues after that accident. And my dad, I think in a progressive move, took me to a chiropractor.
Wow.
And this chiropractor started working on me, and my body started to feel better and work better. Things that not only did the issues that I was experiencing as a result of the accident start to go away, but I also noticed that things that I had noted, like I had a bronchial infection that would happen once or twice a year. I had headaches a lot, and I thought that stuff was normal until they started going away. And so I thought, wow, this is interesting. I had this sense of, it was lighting up some sense that I could tell, some sense I already had looking back, some sense I already had about the body's ability to heal itself, that like real healing kind of came from the inside out. And it was sort of connecting me with that. It was one of those, I think the accident was sort of like one of those moments where life said, and my soul said, okay, we're going to kind of go in this, we're going to go in a certain direction now. But it was lighting that sense up, and my body was healing from the inside out. I could feel, and I thought, this is pretty cool. Like, he's a doctor, but he's not he's a different kind of doctor. Maybe I want to do this. So I did end up going to chiropractic school. While I was there, I still had this sort of chronic low back pain, and life was everything at school was hard. We did everything hard. You worked out hard, you partied hard. I was kind of going down a dark place, to be honest. I was hard on myself and hard on others, and in a lot of pain, and I felt like a fraud because I was about to graduate from chiropractic school, and here I was, someone who's supposed to help people get out of pain. I thought, fix their pain.
Yep.
And I was a mess. And so I started looking at other things, and I found this woman who did this network chiropractic thing, which is kind of a gentle version of kind of a transformational form of chiropractic. And I was really skeptical because it wasn't conventional chiropractic. She was barely touching me. I was like, what is this? But she connected with some part of me, And I stuck around, and about 15 sessions into it, I walked out of there one day and I had like a kind of a full-blown awakening of sorts. Like I felt 300 pounds lighter. The sky was alive in a way I didn't remember it before. The colors were more vivid. I had this amazing like feeling like moving through my body, which looking back now, I recognize as gratitude. At the time I was like, what is this amazing feeling? Under the influence of it, I had all sorts of thoughts like, wow, life, all the possibilities, life is great. And this sort of sense of this energy moving from my low back pain through my low back through my heart. And I could sort of see a veil was removed from my eyes. I could see that if I was having trouble in life, I saw all of a sudden where I was causing it, basically. And so, and then my low back pain changed drastically for the better on top of all that. So I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is something that I'd like to share with people. And so I've been doing that for the last 20 years. And over the last 10, I would say it probably kind of turned into my own thing. And I just started calling it bio-soul integration. I feel like what I'm doing is, I feel like the reason that we're here is to embody our soul's gifts and our soul's essence so we can share those gifts on the planet. And I kind of feel like that's what my work is doing, like creating a safe space in the body so that we can integrate our soul's gifts and our soul's essence. And so I call it bio-soul integration.
Love it.
And yeah.
I mean, thank you. It's just, anyone who goes on the healing journey, and really does emerge in that role, there's always that story of like the moment, of awakening. So I love that you coined it or were able to articulate it as gratitude, because I think that term is so overused. People are like, just be grateful, do that, but to actually feel that emanating.
Right. Yeah, it was a felt sense of gratitude, direct felt sense of gratitude. Yeah. Yeah.
And so how do you, bio-soul integration, what are you doing with people?
What am I doing?
Yes.
Well, mostly I have been, the majority of what I do is from my office here in Louisville, Colorado, and it's hands-on work. I work in an open room with multiple people at the same time. I can say more about why that is later if we want to, but the way it looks is generally people are laying face down, sometimes on their back, sometimes on their side. Generally, it's pretty quiet in there, but at times, certainly as people are connecting with what's emerging in them, they might be wiggling around on the table or making sound or crying or laughing or various other growling, whatever happens in there. But I'm taking gentle contacts along the spine or around the body. And what I'm doing is, there's this part of our nervous system that it's the primitive nervous system that comes online when it's like 2 to 4 weeks after we're conceived. And that part of our system our nervous system is just feeling into our environment. And that's how we're gathering information about we're starting to gather information about how to do this human thing, and we feel into the people around us. And since we rely on them for our survival, I think there's this automatic kind of sense that we need to do what they do. And so we feel into how what's their relationship with love, and what's their relationship with power and anger and fear and all these things that humans have to navigate. And there are certainly, we pick up on some of their finer points, but we pick up also on the unproductive, unhealthy ways that they've pushed parts of themselves away and walled parts of themselves off. And we're like, oh, well, that must be the way it's done here, so I'll do that. And we adopt that in our system, it's unconscious, and then start playing that out in our lives. So I'm connecting with that part of the nervous system. That part of the nervous system is still doing its thing. It's still trying to protect us. It's, it gets locked into feeling like it needs to keep us safe because of what we picked up and what we experienced usually as a child. And so when that part of the nervous system, when someone sees it and feels it and is not trying to change it, it then can start to soften. And then these sort of fundamental survival patterns can start to relax. And so just by seeing it, just by touching the edge of it, whether that's on the body, and certainly a lot of it happens in my body, presence, just being present with what's arising, not trying to change anything.
Right.
And when it feels like, oh, someone sees me here and they're not trying to change me, it starts to relax.
Yeah. Well, you can say that across the board. And, I mean, I love this conversation. I have a body work background. So 25 years ago, that's how I feel like I started in this realm of holistic wellness. But, I mean, now running women's groups, and, so, when somebody feels seen and they're able to relax their nervous system, and co-regulate with others,
right,
it does shift, something does open and relax. So
yeah. And that's why doing it in this open room actually is because we're kind of creating a field where as soon as someone walks in there, that part of their nervous system picks up on, oh, this is a safe place. No one's trying to change me here. I'm being seen here and no one's trying to change me. And so, which is not what we're soaking in when we're in the outside world at all. Everything there says, protect yourself because life is not safe. So yeah,
especially now.
Right, especially
I feel
these
like
days.
the outside world is so jarring right now. So
the fear that's getting ramped up, and fear of life, and fear of like our own bodies.
Yeah, I know.
Our own,
So
I'm with you.
Yeah. So just to dip in with that, in that realm, like, how are you, I didn't think I was going to ask you this, but I'm gonna, how are you, navigating these times, with, I mean, you have a child, you have a wife, you have, running a business.
Sure.
Yes.
Why is there like tension around answering that question these days?
I don't know.
Why is that?
Because
I don't know. I pay attention to what's happening. There's all this like censorship. So I feel like, wow, what can I say?
You say whatever you want to say. No judgment here. Yes.
I mean, I have the benefit of having seen myself. I always had a sense that always had a sense of like health and healing comes from the inside out, like since I was born. So I have that, and then I verified it over and over and over again in my own journey, been through some, healing stuff, like face down things that people would run to the hospital for, immediately, and seen and had myself and come out the other side of it and seen like, oh, wow, like that's like bound up energy there. And when it sequenced itself through, I come out better on the other side. And then, helped people. I'm always aware that like the getting sick process in my experience is never just about getting sick. It's always tied into our healing and evolution, in my experience. And especially if you're primed to see it that way, your nervous system can really like co-opt this process of getting sick and do all sorts of other things with it and use it to, further your evolution. So I have the benefit of sort of seeing it that way. And so I think that this, and I always feel like getting that viruses, things that we encounter are part of the, life. The dynamic living systems grow and evolve, and the earth is a dynamic living system. And I think on some level, the things that we encounter, like viruses and whatnot, are just elements that are helping us grow and evolve.
Mhm.
And there's like evidence for that. I think they say like that viruses are responsible for genetic upgrades that we've gotten in the past, and viruses are just like little, it's strange, they're just like little strips of genetic material.
Mhm.
And yeah, so on some level I definitely look at it as if, yeah, I think it's part of an upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're going through a time where we're getting upgraded.
Yeah. Yes.
And if your system can kind of roll with it, then you don't necessarily have to get sick.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to express all the symptoms, but often that's what symptoms are, I think, is just our body kind of catching up. There's like, it's like on your computer, you get an update on your computer. I think life has given us an update, and sometimes there's some catching up we got to do, and it takes some work to get there. And I think that's what getting sick is.
Mm-hmm.
That's generally how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt this is a
not to dishonor anyone who's, there's people that have died from it. So I get that.
Yes.
And generally that's how I look at it.
I mean, I respect everything you said, and I look at it, as this is a transformational time, not just physically, but, spiritually, for us to have this opportunity to upgrade ourselves, to really up level how we are showing up in the world. And, we can look at it as our physical bodies too. I mean, I did have COVID. I was sort of sick, I had a pretty bad cold. I felt reborn after it. It took a couple of weeks, but I really felt.
I would think you would. I mean, I have not had it that I know of. I would think you would, because there's just all of this, tension around it. It's like,
yeah,
I had it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So anywho, well, thank you. We went on a little tangent about that, but it kind of segues into, you work with people around, the quote unquote transformative power of pain,
right.
Power and potential of pain, to use your exactly. So, I would love, and talking about how so many people are scared of pain. They're scared of getting sick, but they have an injury, or their bodies they're in physical pain, and they immediately shut down and go to a place of fear. So, I just, anything that you could share in that realm, I would be appreciative.
I might have one or two things to say.
I have a feeling.
I get that, pain, can be whatever, physical pain, mental. When I say pain, I'm talking about physical pain, all the pain, mental, emotional pain, something I would call spiritual pain. And those things can be scary, but I think we a lot of times miss that. What is the pain bringing up for me? Like, does it make me afraid? Does it make me angry? I'm afraid that I can't do and we put all sorts of stories on it after that. Like, I'm afraid I can't do the things, I can't, play with my kids the way I want to play with them, or I won't be able to hike, or whatever it is, the story we put on it. But like, what does it bring up for you? Does it make you frustrated? Does it make you afraid? And I think that's super important. Like, if we can, like, that is the energy being extracted. I mean, pain is bound up energy in general. And the fear that comes up, the anger that comes up around that, is the energy being processed, digested. We're extracting the wisdom out of that energy. So, we have just a monopoly on our thinking intelligence, and that groove is so deep. So, and we have often an aversion to feeling parts of our bodies. And so this energy starts to arise, and it automatically wants to squirt into our heads. And so it's like, what are all the things that I'm afraid of? What are all the things that I'm angry about, or whatever it is? But I think that actually is designed, we think in our heads all the things to be afraid about, and it actually makes the sensation in our bodies bigger,
Totally.
which we won't feel, which creates more of it in our heads. It's kind of like designed, it seems, to eventually just like, it gets so big that you have to stop and feel it.
Right.
And if you don't, your body might stop you. It might stop you and make you feel it. And on some level, that's what pain is. Pain is getting us to sort of like stop what we're doing and pay attention, because the way we were living our life is not working. So I would say the emotion, I think a big part of pain all the time has to do with emotion, whether it's physical pain or mental, emotional pain. So that's what I would say about that. We're actually extracting the wisdom by noticing what's the emotion that it makes me feel.
Yeah. I'm always saying you have to feel it to heal it. And, I feel like it's hard for people to trust that if they do stop and feel pain, whether it's that it's not going to like consume them, and
they're not going to disappear into an abyss of this fear or whatever it is forever. Right. In my experience, I know I've run into the same thing, obviously, because I'm asking people to go there. But in my experience, there's a similar thing that happens often if we can sort of meet the sensation of that pain in whatever form it is with enough kind attention, that there is a sort of sequencing that happens, that it sort of peaks out at some point, and then it always crashes on the beach. I say crash on the beach because that's just it's like it rises up like a wave, and then there's this crashing on the beach. And it reminds me of when I've gone to the ocean, and after a wave sort of like crashes and washes up on the beach, there's this, it kind of like sparkles in the sand, and you can hear it kind of sparkling and effervescing, if that's a word. But that's, in my experience, if you give it enough kind attention, it peaks out and then leaves us in this sort of state of expanded effervescence. As we've, kind of like our system sees, oh, I'm not actually going to die if I feel this, because on some level it got installed in us because out of a perceived need to survive, like I said, probably back when we were little kids, when we were in the womb even. And so some part of us thinks we're going to die if we feel this.
Physical or emotional pain. I work more on the emotional level, but quite often, there's been so much avoidance in early years of addiction. That's a whole other subject, but where addictions come in and suppression and all of it. So how do you approach people when they're in chronic pain? Like, what do you do with them? How do you meet them?
Right. Well, I mean, it's helpful if people are at least open to sort of like the idea that I'm talking about, if they've done some work, on their own already, if maybe they have some skills around like mindfulness or, tracking their own experience. Those are all very useful skills. Because at a certain point in the past, it's like people have come to me and it's like, I can help you with your pain. It's going to mean that, it's like it's tied into who you're being in life. And so it's going to mean that, your life is going to have to change in some way. And sometimes they were like, sure, whatever, if you can help, let's do it. But then they actually have to start feeling that stuff that's been tucked way down in there and feel more. They actually have to feel. There's a stage of the process where you have to actually, be willing to feel more. Definitely before the pain can go away, if it does go away. Resolving, like I kind of say in my book, resolving pain doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go away.
Can you say
Um,
more about that?
Sure.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you if you want to
No,
get that
no,
thought.
no.
But, just in talking about your book is called If It Didn't Hurt. And
Sure. I have it here. I can show a
love it.
copy of it.
Love it. Well, I
Yeah.
read some of the reviews, and people who have been in this field for 50 years were raving about it. So,
right. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So resolving pain. Yeah, most people would see, because the title of my book is How to Resolve Your Pain and Discover Your Life Purpose.
Yeah.
And most people would sort of think, obviously, that means that pain is going to go away. And often, it can mean that pain changes for the better, for sure. That was my experience. I understand that's how I got into chiropractic. That's how I got into this work. Pain changed, thank God.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of what can make something hurt is things that we can't see, and so there's this awareness piece as we start to see more and sort of unpack what's going on in there. There's a whole world in there. As we start to unpack some bit of pain, there's a whole world in there, and there are things that happen. There's good things, there's changes in perception, changes in how you're seeing yourself in the world that happen that are can be on some level cooler than than pain going away. For some people.
Yeah.
And again, my book is kind of about, pain as a portal for discovering our authentic self, which I would say is a version of ourselves in which our soul's gifts are integrated into our physical bodies so that we can share those gifts on the planet. And that sort of paradoxically, the energy that's bound up in the pain contains the information that we need to realize our authentic self. Ironically. Yeah. And yeah, I lost my train of thought there.
That's okay.
Where I was going with that.
No, that's good. It's just
I get into this and then actually I start to lose my mind sometimes.
That's great. That's what makes you good at what you're doing, right?
Right.
So, it's fascinating to me because, just in my world, I work with more emotional pain, but I'm supporting people in getting into their bodies in order to cycle it through. But I just love that you're just going right into what the physical pain is doing, and it feels as though I don't know, it's just very complimentary in
often the next, like if people really are present with a physical pain, there's just different there's pain is like it's a ball of tangled up. There are different parts, tangled up parts. There's physical parts, there's emotional parts, there's mental parts, there's spiritual stuff, and it's kind of like a wadded up, tangled up ball. And so as people start to, like whatever's getting their attention, maybe it's physical pain that's getting their attention, that's kind of can be the thread that sort of starts to unravel the carpet or whatever. If they actually go towards that, then other things unfold. And often, if people really are present with physical pain, often there's like emotion that starts to come to the surface, and the stories that are associated with that might start to come to the surface. And if you can help people, and if they have enough capacity to do that, to stay present with the sensation of the emotion, or just like notice that there's this story coming up, that's them actually sort of like teasing this knot of pain apart.
It's obviously all all connected and all related. But, like you
Hmm.
said, it's them having the capacity and just a name that it takes a lot of courage to be willing to
Yeah.
dip into this
Yeah.
work, this level work, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
Often I'm like, feel like apologetic, like, oh, I'm sorry, you've gotten yourself into, I'm sorry that,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry you've gotten yourself into this.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
That
once you start, there's kind of no
not
turning
easy.
back, right? I guess you can just stop, but
Yeah.
once you've opened the portal, you just kind of
Yes,
keep going.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And yeah, that's again, that journey is, like it can be a lifelong,
Mm,
the process of our evolution is a lifelong journey. So,
absolutely.
um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so how, you talk some, about, we've already kind of dipped into this, but growth as humans,
Hmm.
and how does shadow work and work in relationships and sickness and death and all of it
Hmm.
kind of play into this conversation?
Right. Well, I mean, that term, shadow work, I think, what was it? Carl Jung, I think that he coined that term. And, it's by his definition, it's repressed parts of ourselves, parts of our personality or our psyche or whatever that we've sort of like pushed down. And I've sort of been talking about that. And at different points in our journey, there are developmental stages that sort of unfold throughout our lives. We kind of think of like, we have to put it together a certain amount of dots to learn how to walk and to talk. And we know about those developmental stages, but then puberty happens and then we explore relationships and maybe we have kids of our own and all, there's all these developmental stages that continue to unfold throughout life. And I think life calls us to a new project when those new eras, those developmental stages are dawning.
Mm.
And it says, well, the way that we were doing ourselves, the way that we were sort of tucking parts of ourselves away and not looking at them, that was okay, that it was necessary, we needed to do that. And in order to work on this next project, this next stage in our life, we're going to have to
Mhm.
unpack that. We're going to have to come into, we need what's in there to work on this next project
Mhm.
and to fulfill what you're going to be asked to do next in this next stage of your life. And so that's often when pain or whatever, our bodies and our lives kind of conspire. I think they conspire together to sort of like nudge us towards our evolution. And so, that energy starts to come to the surface that we've been tucking away. And maybe it shows up as pain, or maybe it shows up as mental, emotional things, or, or a health issue or whatever. And yeah, I mean, I think, relationships are just like a crucible for
Mhm.
growth. A relationship, we're sort of, it's mirroring our shadow to us all the time.
Mhm.
Like I say that in my book. And getting sick, I think, is another
Mhm.
way that another opportunity to sort of come into relationship with some deep existential fear. I mean, the fear of getting sick it brings up, I think it kind of touches on some sort of existential fear that people I just don't want to get sick. I don't want to get sick.
Yeah.
Plus there's and our society in general wants us to not get sick. It wants us to be able to keep producing and keep working. And I think there's this underlying thing that's like fear around getting sick. And so I think getting sick brings up shadow
Yeah.
stuff to be met.
Mhm.
And there was another, getting sick, relationship. Wasn't there another?
Shadow work.
There's other things
Yeah.
that bring that up. And
Yeah.
there's on the tip of but I can't think of right now. But
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, yeah, those are all versions of ways that life
Mhm.
brings the shadow material to the surface to be processed and digested. And I think, if we want to be whole,
Mhm.
You gotta integrate the light and the dark. There's kind of in certain circles, people want to lean towards love and light and have an aversion to the dark stuff.
Mhm.
But I think if we want to be whole, we have to integrate both.
Absolutely. It's all
It's my
important
experience.
for sure. So are you, when you're working with people, are you
Hmm.
doing hands-on stuff, and are you also talking to them, like helping
Hmm.
to move through stuff in that way?
It depends. Like I
Yeah.
said, I work in an open room, so it can get interesting sometimes. But certainly if there's a crisis, that if things start to kind of like something's coming to the surface and there's a crisis kind of peeking out,
Mhm.
um, uh, it depends on what people need. But yes, often I am coaching them to stay present with what they're noticing. Just bring your attention to the sensation of this in your body. Trust it.
Yeah.
Give it permission to be felt. Trust it. Trust what's happening. Like your body and your life are not messing with you here.
Yeah.
You're not gonna disappear into an bottomless pit of this.
Mhm.
I promise you, if we give it enough kind attention,
That's so
you'll see it's gonna cycle through. And yeah, and when people can see that, when they get to see that, it's like, oh, that um rewires their
Mhm.
relationship to it. There can be other waves,
Right. Of course.
but once they see that, oh, it's going to sequence itself, it can sequence itself through, then that can change their attitude about
Mhm.
a lot of things.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Life, life
Right.
in general.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
they're not gonna, like, die if something is really uncomfortable,
Yeah.
or,
Right.
so,
Yeah. Yeah.
and, whether it's translated into life on the whole, you're
Yeah.
having the harder conversations, or, doing things
Hmm.
that scare you, or, I mean,
Yeah.
all of it, it's all related.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes I do need to, sometimes it's quiet in there. Sometimes, silence,
Mhm.
peace is what's wanting to happen. And sometimes they need to be talked through something,
Mhm. Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah. Well, you have a very calm demeanor. I feel my nervous I had such a crazy morning before this. I feel my nervous
Oh,
system just more
good.
swelled after conversing with you.
Good.
So
I've fooled you.
you fooled me. I know we all have our moments, right?
I'm a little nervous, at
Oh, I love it.
this whole thing, but
So what are your self-care practices? How do you take care of yourself?
hmm, um, I mean, different things at different points in my
Mhm.
journey.
Mhm.
Mindfulness meditation was sort of a big thing that I discovered at some point. I felt called. Life was calling me, I feel like, to take more responsibility for
Mhm.
my own unfolding, and I just recognized I needed something, and I discovered, through a mentor and teacher of mine, discovered mindfulness meditation,
Mhm.
and that was really powerful. Just like these tools for, I think you're into
Mhm.
meditation, right? I don't know, the guy that I connected with, his name is Shinzen Young.
Mhm. Perfect.
I wondered if you've ever heard of him. You
Yeah.
have.
Mhm.
But he's a mindfulness, he's a super nerd, actually. But he took like all these thousands of years of mindfulness, meditation training, and kind of put it in this sort of elemental chart of
Mhm.
all of the, how to sort of connect with all the different experiences that you might experience. And that was super, has been
Mhm.
a gift that keeps on giving, super powerful. So mindfulness meditation. And then, there's times when I recognize like we need help. Like I see a practitioner, kind of like myself, on a weekly basis.
Mhm.
I go to Boulder, and
Mhm.
her name is Amanda Love. She's a network chiropractor and kind of has definitely put her own spin on it. But I go see her on a weekly basis, get that kind of work. And
Mhm.
then when things are, definitely have gotten some good help from some body-centered psychotherapists
Mhm.
in Boulder,
Mhm.
seeing one right now.
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
Sometimes you need you
Yeah.
need help. You can't do it yourself. You need help to sort of bridge. You need someone who can see, you can't see your way out of your own. Like, I don't know, Einstein said something like, you can't solve a problem from the same consciousness that created the problem,
Yes.
or something like that. And so often I find you need help to sort of bridge. Feel like that's what I'm doing for folks, and I'm sure what you're doing for folks. And I need that too. Sometimes I need someone to help me.
Yeah.
Show me something I can't see.
For sure. Well,
Yeah.
it's a constant journey, constant,
Mm-hmm.
right? So layers upon layers upon layers. So yeah,
It's true.
yeah, very humbling.
It is. It is humbling. Yes.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yes. You're right.
So, I didn't know if there was anything that you wanted to share more specifically about your book, any
Mm-hmm.
kind of final little nuggets to offer.
Yeah, as far as my, you can find, if you want to find me, biosoulintegration.com. You can find, look me up on the web, Biosoul Integration, anywhere that there's, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. I syndicate, I make videos and syndicate them onto podcasts. So you can find Biosoul Integration wherever people find stuff.
Yeah.
And I do have this book. If you go to my website, Biosoul Integration, you can see right on it'll be the first thing that's put in your face there is an opportunity to get the first chapter for free if you want to, or buy my book there. It's on Amazon in all the different forms. If you want to get the paperback, you can get that like a $3 discount on that if you get it off of my website as compared to Amazon. But if you're into audiobooks or whatever, all of that stuff's on Amazon too.
And what
Yeah.
what would be a sign or symptom, quote unquote, that would cause somebody to want to seek your services and read your
right,
book, etc.? Yeah.
Those are key points.
Yes.
If you're feeling stuck, that is there are just different parts of the healing journey that are sort of common to everyone's experience. There's a rules to the game of healing, and getting stuck, feeling stuck is like a really important stage. I think in the Western world, most people are like, we just want to obliterate, I want to take massive action and obliterate stuckness. But actually the solution is in giving yourself permission to just feel just how friggin' stuck you feel, and things start to unfold out of that. So feeling stuck, the next stage would be like wanting to reclaim your power. People who are into or feeling shadow work, feeling like you're sort of ready for a next stage in your life, but can't quite figure out how to make that happen. People who are, again, sort of like in some new era is dawning in their life, something's calling them. Some new era is dawning. They're in the middle of something new, or kind of on the other side of trying to integrate something new in their life. So I hope that gives some.
That's great. I'm like,
some
I think
idea.
everyone can relate to like some, snippet of that, some aspect of that. Yeah.
I mean, it won't work out for people who, if you want your pain to go away so that you can go back to living your old life,
beautiful.
that won't work.
Yep.
Because in my experience, life, and that's a certain stage of the process. It's not going to work very well in my office. Because life is kind of nudging us towards our evolution.
Totally.
There's no such thing as really as going back. So if you want your pain to go away, just so you can get back to living your old life, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. I love
as an
that.
example of
That's
what's,
a great differentiation.
yeah.
Sure. Yeah. What were you going to say?
Yeah, and just people who are, I guess, who are at least open to the idea of that my pain, the problem contains the solution.
Love
And
it.
if I can see it through the lens of my heart, that, things will unfold in a really cool way. And you'll see that life is actually holding you. Life and your body are not against you. They're not screwing with you
Mhm.
just to make life hard. That life is holding you. It's actually trying to lead you somewhere. Cool.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, that feels like a great bookend to the entire conversation. So unless there's
Cool.
anything else you wanted to offer the listeners at this point, and all of, Jay's information will be in the show notes to find him. So any other final little snippets you
I
did?
don't know. That feels complete.
Yeah, felt great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, Allison.
Thank
Much
you so
appreciated.
much. Yeah,
Yeah.
really lovely to connect with you and hear about your work and your perspective. And
Yeah.
so thank
You
you.
too. Nice to meet a kindred spirit
Yeah,
in the healing world.
love it. Sounds good. Well, thanks again. Take good care.
You too. Okay, thanks for watching the video, the interview. I hope you liked it. Again, please share this with anyone you think might be interested. Hit that like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and check out my book, If It Didn't Hurt, How to Resolve Your Pain and Discover Your Life Purpose, at my website, biosoulintegration.com. And I look forward to helping you express more life in the next video. Have a great day.